Oh, you already know it's your dynamic duo, the boy OGP. Chuck's over here to my left on the screen, but I'm really pointing at nobody at home. So, but it's over there. You know, that guy. So we're gonna do the what was it? The Gotenks, Dragon Ball Z,
Fusion.
what do they call her on Dragon Ball Z? Fusion? What was it Fusion?
Fusion.
What's Fusion? Okay.
Yeah.
But all right, all jokes aside, it is your boys, Film Don't Lie, A2D's very own, brought to you by Chux.
Alonzi Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team of travel experts, including or especially myself, create a custom vacation for you. Speaking of vacation, I am leaving for Disney World again, but this time it is a work trip, so it's mainly work purposes. But yes, I am going to Disney World. What's up?
With Alonzi?
Yeah, with Alonzi. We are going on a work trip next week, so I will be away. But it's pretty nice to know that I get to celebrate the Eagles Super Bowl win in Walt Disney World. And I will be wearing my Eagles gear to fully embrace the championship. And I expect a lot of other Eagles fans to be there and to holler at me, say "Go Birds" if you see me there. And if I see any other fans too, you bet you'll be getting a "Go Birds" from me as well. So I'm excited. But before I go, we've got this is out of every show we've done, this is probably my favorite one. And I'm sure both of us will have a lot to say. I expect us not to agree on certain things, but it should be a fun one as we pay homage and tribute to Saquon Barkley and the season he had. Regardless of how you feel about the running back position, we will also dive into what his season spells for the running back position and its value going forward. So it should be a good conversations for both of us. But we will dive into our poll question and start talking our league conversation. Saquon Barkley's 2024-25 season is the greatest season for a running back in NFL history. Agree or disagree? Sir, Mr. Pete, OG, I will let you lead this off.
I vehemently, 1,000% disagree to this poll.
I knew you would because I know why. I know exactly why you disagree. But go ahead.
I don't know if you know. So
okay.
I will say I disagree. I think it's second best, possibly third. And the reason why I say this is because you do have LT's from a touchdown perspective. You have LT's great season. I forget which year it was when he had 27.
I think it was 27 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure that was 2006.
Okay.
Was it 2006? I could look it up.
I believe so. But to me, this dude did it back-to-back years in an age in the NFL where our current linebackers were the size of safeties, our current outside rushers that are in like 3-4 defenses were linebackers, and you had more stout nose tackles and bigger offensive lines. And running backs actually mattered. So my number one overall NFL season, single season rushing record is 1998 Terrell Davis. So I think to do that in that fashion, and I mean, let's be honest, the record is only separated by 32 yards, 2,504. TD had 2,476, and he had it in one less game. I'm just calling a spade with a spade. What it is, I'm not saying the player, I'm talking about an overall, and that was back-to-back. That was the second of their back-to-back championships. Mm-hmm. They also won the Super Bowl that year as well. Yes. And you knew it was coming, and you really couldn't stop it. John Elway was on the tail end of his career. I think he retired after that year. That was his final year, 1998. And that was kind of riding off to the sunset. Just to kind of give you some stats here. So 436 attempts for Saquon, 470 for Terrell Davis, TD. Yards per carry, 5.7 versus 5.3. Mm-hmm. Terrell Davis had 130.3 rushing yards per game on average. Saquon had 125 on average. Receptions were pretty at 353 for the reception yards, 353 to 286. Receptions overall for Saquon, 46, 29 for Terrell Davis. I think his yards per catch were higher, 9. It's just the reason why I say it, and I think some of this is recency bias, and I'm not taking. I will say the bitterness of him not getting the single season record and him sitting in week 18 has soured some. I still think those extra 50 whatever yards wouldn't have mattered. We still would have been down Broad Street. I get it. You had to insure it. It's the ultimate team sport. We've been hearing that. So I understand. Would that have would that make me change my answer to this poll? More than likely, because at that point you have all the records. You have the greatest thing, the most rushing yards of the single season, regular season. Then you have it overall, including playoffs. I mean, like no one has done that, right? But I'm giving a nod to what the 1998 Denver Broncos had to face against it from an offensive perspective, and that was this. I mean, no running back has ever done back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons outside of Terrell Davis. 1997 and 1998.
Yep.
So that is it for me. Once again,
yep.
I'm looking at the era of the game of football at that time. Running like now, how do I say this? It's not built to stop the run how 1998 was built to stop the run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you still have that. So single conglomerate season, I'm giving it to Terrell Davis. I mean, obviously overall top running backs ever played a game. From a physical trait perspective, Saquon is over Terrell Davis from a physical traits perspective.
I do respect that. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's a different type of conversation, right? I think that's just fair. I mean, this is the only other season that I would give it for someone if I'm not giving it to Saquon.
Yeah. No, those are very good arguments, and I'm 100% agree with you in that it's between those two seasons. So it's between this season and Terrell Davis's 1998 season, and it's his Davis's 1998 season also holds weight in the fact that he won the MVP. Again, it was a different generation, so like that's when the run game was in its, like the forefront, and running back still won MVPs at those times. So everything you say was fair, and it was actually very sound. So like I don't think anything is unfair in what you say. What I will spit or what I will counter that with, if I'm going to make the argument for Barkley's 2024-25 season as the greatest, and why I agree to the poll is, and I'm trying my best not to have recency bias here or homer bias, because obviously I love Saquon. I think it goes without saying he's now my second favorite running back ever, like behind Brian Westbrook. So I love the guy. So I will admit that there may be bias to that take. So I openly admit that. But the counter argument I make kind of is a spin on the fact that you mentioned how back then that's when it was all running game. Defense were made to stop the running game, or the running back and all of that. It was a different era. I'm going to use the fact that in this era, this is the era of the quarterback, of the wide receiver. Running backs are disrespected. I think we all seen it coming. The amount that the running back position has been devalued leading up to this past season was getting astronomically out of hand. Like we've seen, like Saquon's contract, he's getting paid less than guys like Darnell Mooney and God knows it was Gabe Davis. Like when you have elite talents like him and Derrick Henry getting paid less than wide receiver threes on teams, it goes out of hand. And then not to mention the fact that you can say that back then running backs it was the age of the running back. Well, the fact that Saquon did this, and you have a team like the Eagles who are willing to say we are going to actually build our offense through the running game, through the running back, I think that you could argue that that holds credence. It gives credence to Saquon because he's going against the grain. He's going against him, and the Eagles are going against what the trend is. Everyone wants to build through the passing game. Well, no. Eagles said we're going to do what no one else wants to do. We're going to go back to what old school football was, and we're going to put Saquon as the focal point of our offense. So the fact that he was able to do that in a time where hashtag running backs don't matter showed that he proved that running backs still do actually matter. And you add the other storyline to it, and I'm including storyline and context to the argument.
Okay.
When you take into account what happened in in New York with Joe Shane, Saquon was
and so publicly told, so publicly viewed. I mean, you get the moment, the raw emotion of
exactly. You when you have all those storylines coming together of
too many cameras around,
diverse, like the ugly divorce between him and the team that drafted him, the Giants, and it's documented. It's on HBO Hard Knocks, right? And everyone is able to see with their own eyes what happened. Now, I guess I understand that the bulk of the drama happened the year prior, but just to be able to see the tail end and the ending of that marriage, and obviously you have John Mara saying, if we let him go to the Eagles, I'm not gonna get a lot of sleep.
He said I'm not gonna be able to sleep.
Yeah, I
guess he's not sleeping.
To add that, he went to the Eagles. He went to a division rival and won the Super Bowl in his first season with that division rival. That's my argument, is that when you add those storylines to it, on top of the fact that, I know you mentioned Saquon's rushing total wasn't. It was more he eclipsed the record that Terrell Davis had, but if you add in receiving yards and you look at yards from scrimmage, Saquon Barkley finished with 2,875 yards from scrimmage. Terrell Davis had 2,762. That's a 113-yard difference. So that is a little bit more. That's more of a cushion for Saquon. So it's so close, and I will absolutely agree to that. It's so close, but what captivates me and what makes me say this is the greatest is all those storylines put into it. It's drama. It's like NFL storytelling at its finest. When you think of NFL films and what they'll be able to document, how they'll document this in the history books, it's going to live on. It's going to be remembered forever how he did this and everything leading up to it. So that's my argument for it. I'm glad you made the argument for Terrell Davis because it's a very good one. But it's so close, and I think that you could fall on either side and have good arguments for either side. But that's how great this season was, regardless of whether it's better than Terrell Davis's or not. I think the fact that it's that close with his speaks volumes, because when you think about before this season, when you thought about the single best season before a running back, you automatically just thought of Terrell Davis and nothing else came close, right? Barry Sanders, the GOAT running back, even his greatest season in 1997, it didn't have this magnitude because his team never reached the Super Bowl. So he's unable to have that kind of accolades attached to that season the way that Terrell Davis did, and be able to repeat. And so it was really Terrell Davis and no one else until Saquon came along this past year. So it's a great season. It's a historic season, no matter how you spin it. And whatever, I know that I gave you a hard time when we and you were opposite sides of the fence when it came to Eric Dickerson's rushing record. I understood, and I had made it clear before that I think we should all be frustrated, and it's understandable to be upset and disappointed that he wasn't able to rush for that. My point of delineation was always Yeah, but I'm not going to be pissed off about it, and I'm not going to take away the season he's had because I understand the main goal. And like to the people that still don't want to give it up, I mean, like I think you weren't one of these, but I've seen people say, "Oh, the season doesn't matter anymore." Like the Eagles have lost their juice because they're not going for the rushing record, so they're going to lose in the playoffs. I had a friend that said he was going to stop watching the Eagles because they didn't go for the record. Like those takes were extreme, and that's what I took issue with to be able to fall into that line. And those are the people that obviously have been proven wrong. But I understood your side of the argument and how the record would have if he had definitely had broken Eric Dickerson's record. I think you're right. You obviously have.
It's almost like how we view the team as a whole. Like every decision that they made was validated by winning the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Now that's on a team level, right? So, but that's on a macro level. So from a micro level, just look at Saquon's bubble, right? And because you could almost, honestly, the truth be told, if he gets the single season record, then I think he is the greatest story of the team this year.
Mm-hmm.
How great his season was, and we'll look at some of his plays, some of his top moments of the season. I don't think he's the greatest story of the Eagles this year. I think that goes to Jalen. Jalen got to the Super Bowl without him 2 years ago. Had a tough year last year. Remember after 2023 going into 2023 at the Super Bowl 57, going into the 23-24 season, we were like, this dude he's up there going to be an MVP voting, right? Then fall from grace, to fight back, to take a back seat from his personal stats, to go out, and then we see it. Now you're seeing it. You'll see breakdowns more of how much he did at the line of scrimmage and his question about could he read defenses? Could he check into this? Could he check out of that? Could he check to the next play? He did all of that. He circled he circled all the boxes. And for the second time, he beat Patrick Mahomes, outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Now this time he won a Super Bowl MVP. You know what I mean? So that's a redemption story. Don't get me wrong. Saquon's story is great, but if you're looking at truly finishing the story, a la WWE WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes, Jalen finished the story. Like he put a stamp on his book. The only way that, like Saquon almost unfortunately has to come back and run it back next year and then break the record. Like, I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's tough, but we love running backs. You love running backs more than I do. I mean, damn, they're built like a running back. So I get it from that standpoint. It's just, it's tough, man. It's what he deserved. And I think all year, and we've all watched and the Eagles media team does such a great job, right? We've all watched what they've done with unscripted all year. The one that came out regarding the Super Bowl, we all watched that. And to see him still be reserved and humble, but kind of like, he's like, listen, man, I've been watching the film, like these guys, I know what we're capable of, and they can't do it. They can't stop us, right? And to see that more of that person, part of his personality come out, and it's all business, and he's like, I mean, he's just like the perfect teammate. On and off the field, couldn't happen to a better guy. And like you said, the storylines, I will say the storylines with TD going back again for the second one, right? To win that Super Bowl, defending champions, to play in week 17, I believe at that time it was week 17, to get to over 2,000 yards, right? And like I'm looking at the offensive line. I mean, it's names, but it's really the only name I really recognize is Mark Sherlock. I think he still does media, right? But I mean, this O-line with this running game, with this defenses that we've seen being a little lighter, and I get it, but it's to revitalize the running backs, right? I think it's put running backs of importance more on the map, especially if they're that average to above average to elite, right? Because you can kind of see if we had an average running back, that's probably say Miles Sanders.
Yep.
Above average running back, the DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have elite, like you're leveling up every year. When you have elite, it's a different story, right?
Yes.
It's something where you're literally going into a Super Bowl, and the defensive coordinator who already has, how many rings does Spags have? He already has 3.
I don't even know.
I think he has 5. I think he has 5 rings, right?
Okay, yeah. Because with the Giants, he has what? Yeah, 2 with the Giants, right?
And they have 3 with the Chiefs.
Yep.
So to have that be the main priority and literally sell out for everything else, and leave yourself vulnerable, it definitely does something, and I hope other teams kind of see that. So when everybody was going left, Howie and the team went right. You know what I mean? And in season, the ideology changed during that bye week, and it got you to hoist your second Lombardi trophy. So, but just from a personal level, this is why I tell people all the time, like I tell people, oh man, the Eagles this, Eagles that. Like, listen, I get it. You may not like the fans, you may not like the uniform, but the players that are wearing the uniform, like Jalen and Saquon, probably 2 of the most likable, marketable players that have ever stepped foot in the city of Philadelphia.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like
100%.
Like Jalen is so polarizing, but he says everything the right way. It's almost like, damn it, he's too much like how I want my quarterback to be. He's too level-headed. He's too on to the next one. His determination, his focus is and then Saquon, like you had that one picture. I think we shared it in one of the groups where it's Saquon holding the trophy next to Jalen. And it looks like, they cool with their accomplishments. It could be that it was cold as shit, right? But they may not be. Their appetites are not satiated, in my opinion. I think they want more. What drives them and what drives Saquon is loyalty, determination, results, and he's going to grind day in and day out. And the little things matter. And he knows, like, he got every old lineman a truck full of Bud Light.
Bud Light, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
He knows what, like, it all starts and stops with that O line up front. And then in order to stop it, you got the weapons on the outside. So I'm very curious to see what defenses do next year. Now that Jalen, in my opinion, has proved that he has it not just with the physical traits, but what he lacks there, he's now making up for it in his mind. I don't know if it was the opponent why he was so locked in. So that level of consistency, just to see it week in and week out, when it comes to just pointing out the details. But I mean, they were 14-3. Really should have been. I mean, it's weird.
I mean, it's good.
Right. So it's so weird to have a team. Like, I think Ray Didinger said it best. He said he felt like when he was there in 2018, it was like the team realized they caught lightning in a bottle and they may never get back here again.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more celebratory to where it's like, hey, let's really enjoy this moment. Let's soak it in. Let's embrace it. Ray said this year, it's like these players are like, hey, this is something that we damn near almost expected.
This is greatness. This is
right. Like, this is almost what we expected, and we expect to have these opportunities again. So while we're enjoying it, we can't really fully enjoy it because we know we not like that we can do this again. Right. Yeah. So it's almost like like you said, the expectations are different, right? The bar has been raised. It's been raised around the whole league. It's because they're literally, like I told you, they're Broad Street bullies. Like they're really this team that is bigger, stronger,
better. They're just like, better than.
If I'm a QB right now, and I'm one of the other 31 QBs in the league, and I maybe not so Lamar, but if I'm like a Justin Herbert, if I'm trying to think who else. Maybe even a Burrow. Like, can't do what Jalen does. Not going to change that. But you should definitely be in the gym getting stronger in your lower body. Like, he's pushed that level, right? he's pushed that level to say like, hey, like you got to constantly, continuously work on your craft and not just do it, but have a purpose while you're doing it. Right. Yeah. I forgot about, but like it's so much bullet. Like that's the problem. My biggest concern is, all right, what if you get back there and the team that you're playing is just a team that got there? You know what I mean? Like, what if it's a Buffalo Bills? What if you don't have that bad memory from 2 years ago? How motivated are you going to be? What if you don't have them wearing 0 sack shirts at their parade? You see what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like all that extra.
You've got to find something else. And I'm sure I'm sure though they will find something because they're not the type of people just rest on their laurels and be complacent. Like they want more. So now, like if I were to predict, I'm sure their next driving force, not that they need it, but it'll probably be we're pursuing greatness. Like we want to be dominant, you know. To backtrack a little bit, like you were talking about how you see Jalen Hurts' story as the best story from the season.
Not best, but I just like you said, the times changed, right? They cater to the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that captivates you, and I think you'd be in the majority. I think most fans are captivated and they hang on to Jalen Hurts' story because like you said, he's so divisive, and you know you have people that think he's not a good QB, and it's for him to be able to do this. It's completing the story. You use the Cody Rhodes thing, and it applies so well to it. So absolutely. So it's an amazing story for Jalen Hurts. I think for Saquon Barkley, his story is different, but for me, it's just as captivating because again, he wasn't wanted. Like you're talking about an elite franchise player. He wasn't wanted. They were like, we're going to pay Daniel.
He was a castaway.
He was casted away, and said because of the position you play, we're not going to pay you what you're worth. And so to be able to be disrespected in that manner, and to want to be able to prove them wrong as well, it's another story of hey, like let's prove the doubters wrong. And for Saquon, it's just like this is why I think with both of their stories, they are so perfect together because like Pete, I've been saying this. I don't think I will ever love a QB running back duo as much as I love this duo right here with Hurts and Saquon. The amount of leadership that both of them bring to the team, and they're in their primes, and they are tremendous leaders and people on and off the field. I don't see myself ever rooting for a duo like them. I mean, I know we grew up on McNabb and Westbrook, and Westbrook will always be my guy, but you also know how I feel about McNabb. Like McNabb has his things and his warts, and I've never been the biggest McNabb fan, but it's so easy to root for these guys, like you said. I don't know how you can see a duo like them in the league when it comes to quarterback and running back, and just not be completely captivated by both of them and enamored with who they are. It speaks so much to them as players and leaders, and I think that also to your point, you're talking about how with this championship win, being able to just show like you're the Broad Street Bullies, like this team is their dominance from start to finish was just insane. And it was like, I remember what Jalen was saying to Saquon in the Mic'd Up episode, right? That NFL Films put out, that you were the final piece. Because when Saquon was able to come in, it really became a team where it's like, you can't stop us no matter what you do.
Right.
And for most of the season, it was Saquon that was, he was the focal point. We became a run-first team, and no one could stop us. But when it got to the point where, hey, this team, you got Spags and the Chiefs literally giving their all to stop Saquon.
Yep.
You have Jalen Hurts and company, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. They're now saying, okay,
Jahan Dotson too, man. What do you have? Like 3 or 4 catches?
They're now saying, hey, you want to stop? You want to commit all these resources and time and personnel and bodies to stop Saquon. Now you forget about what we can do.
Yeah.
And so it's dominance in its truest form. And I also want to give credit. Obviously, it's dominance on the defensive side of the ball as well. Like one of the best defenses in Super Bowl era. And Kate Adams alluded to this last week. This Eagles team has to be looked at as one of the greatest teams in NFL history.
Yeah,
history, like top
definitely of this century for sure.
Yeah, like it's insane. And I wanted to make this point because I've been thinking about it. I've seen people throw takes here and there, and give takeaways and lessons they can learn from this Eagles season and what it means. They say this proves that trench play rules all, or this proves
I don't know how trench play wasn't important to other teams in the first place.
Before, right? Or they carry the narrative that defense wins championships. Jalen Hurts also, like, he said that, like, to give credit to the defense, and both of them are true. I'm not discrediting both. Both of them are true. But to me, when I look at this Eagles team, it goes beyond that. It's just showing that they're just better. Like there's no like one specific way they won. Mm-hmm. It was just more of like, we are going to get all the best players. We're going to have an absolute stacked lineup for all 22 starters with almost no weaknesses. And we're just going to be better than everyone in every single facet where there is literally no way you can beat us unless we beat ourselves. That is the lesson. If there's a lesson to take away, it's not that trench play wins only or that defense wins championships or all that. It's literally just be better, have the better team than everyone else. That is it. They just have a super team. Like we joke around with we have PTSD about Vince Young saying dream team back in 2012. Vince Young was probably dreaming about this team. This is and
it takes not just the players on the field to hit success, to get the coaching, to execute, have rush lane integrity, stay in their assignments. It takes it. This started after the Tampa loss last year from the scout development team to say, hey, okay, these are the free agents that we could target. Whoever put Zach Bond on Howie's radar, Vic's radar, that staff member to say, hey, like this guy may become available. He may work for us. To have the insight to go look at Saquon, to realize that may be a missing piece. No one is going to change the dynamic of your offense, right? And I think they sign Saquon before they hired Kellen Moore?
No, Kellen Moore was hired before. Because when Saquon signed, Moore was at the facility.
Okay. Yeah. So, my fault. But like it takes that part of it, right? And then you have the other part, like if you're building something, the step-by-step instruction. The other part is, okay, we got these guys, rookie players, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Kobe Dean's second-year guy. Like, you need those guys to hit as well. Like, so when Clown Acho says the Cowboys are one off season away from being the Eagles, like, bro, like, it's not just one off season. Like, Jordan Davis was in his third.
That was such a clown statement.
Jordan Davis is in his third year. So who do the Cowboys have for that, right? Then you have Cooper. Then you have Coop. You have Quinyon. You have Reed Blankenship taking the unsung hero, then takes the next step forward. Then you bring Chauncey back. So you have all these pieces that kind of just melded together, right? And they all had one common goal, and they may have let their guard down if they would have played the Bills. Playing the Chiefs had no shot. They had no shot because not just from the tangibles being a better team, but you get that better, more physical team, more talented, gifted team, a purpose, a fire. Oh, you definitely gonna see it, and we saw it on February 9th.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, Absolutely. That Ocho comment was so ridiculous. I saw it and was just like, is this real? Is this really you're really saying this? They're not just an Eagles offseason in a way. And to say that, it's so much easier said than done. And I had my snide remark to that when I posted on Twitter was that he forgot to say quarterback, because Dak Prescott. In what world has Dak Prescott shown that he can show up in playoff time? Yeah. Again, I said this to you, I think, last week. What good is talent and ability if you don't show up when it matters most?
And it's funny you say that, because I'm sitting here thinking to myself now, Jalen's made it. He's been a starter for 4 years. He's been to the playoffs every year, right? People forget they were 11-1 after they beat the Bills in overtime, and they had a collapse that they had, or 10-1. They had a collapse that they had, right? Dak has had more talented teams. Now, I would say more talented versus the team that we had now, but I would say Jalen's first year, 2022, somewhat more talented, because remember, Dallas's O-line was the best O-line in the league, right? Yeah. So he's had it, but he hasn't. It's something. It's really not even him. But when you got the person running the ship,
yep,
like all that stuff flows, bro. Like when it comes from the top down, all that stuff matters. And then
100.
I think when Jalen sat there and said, "Want to go back to unscripted," he said, "Bro, that loss 2 years ago, it changed me, man. Like it. Now we saw the sideline audio. It said it changed my soul, but we get to see it before the game. It's like that night before the game. It's like, bro, like should change where you sit here and say, what I'm gonna do, and I'm preparing this moment. I didn't get benched. I put on a good showing, but I left that field feeling so empty." And it's like, winning is the only thing that matters. Like that type of dedication, right? And I think to a certain extent, that type of dedication and that thought process, he manifested it for the whole team. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
The team lived through him, but I think everybody in the Eagles organization felt that way, because I think everybody in the Eagles organization, like the round of Chauncey's comment back in the summer of 2023, starts circulating again. Like, bro, if we had a field that day, we wouldn't have been 0 sacks, right? But I think you take that mentality, you take that, Howie was like, okay, I thought I did a good job. I didn't do good enough. Let me get back to the drawing board, right? Because that was the Bradbury infamous, was a white jersey, green glove, right? Yeah. So everybody can see it. So he goes back to the drawing board. He's like, all right, I need to hone in and figuring out how I can draft a cornerback. Maybe if not one, maybe two. But then from there, I think Jeffrey had it too. Like everybody had that hunger. Everybody had that want to get back, to close this chapter and prove what their medal is, right? So now, for the first time, I feel like this is for the fan base, for the Eagles, for the players, for the organization, anywhere from personnel to clerical, everything is like, dog, like we are the North Star, right? We are that measuring stick. And I think they'll use this to a certain extent, but the fact that they're either third or fourth favorite team to win the Super Bowl,
I don't know how that's possible. I just third or fourth. I don't know.
What the Chiefs showed you, I think they're the favorites at plus 600. I think Ravens are plus 700.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, I think the Bills and the Eagles are tied. When I saw it was like plus 750. So you just won a Super Bowl. You beat the two-time champs. Belts to ass, right? Like you, after when I say Not after the Cooper. Yeah, I felt as if the game was over after the Cooper pick six. That's what I felt it was over.
That's what you thought.
Because it's like they haven't shown me that they can move the ball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the one thing that did kind of concern me a little bit was when Nagy was like, or when Reed came over, was like, he's like, I'm seeing it, I'm just not trusting it. I need to see it, trust it, and throw it and let it go. So those windows are small, and they just kind of played on like this is psychological, right? Human things. You get hit a lot of times, you feel pressure a lot of times, you're gonna start seeing shit that you're not getting there, and you rush your mental process, right? So for all those things, what's going to happen again? But I mean, I can tell you right now, I don't see a team unless Washington hits it out the park on the defensive side. If the Commanders hit it out the park on the defensive side, you can even sit there and tell me Detroit or their defense comes back. I still don't think they're better than us.
Mm-hmm. They have question marks on coordinator. Both sides.
Question marks on coordinator. How Dan Campbell was going to handle that. Green Bay maybe, but Jordan Love, all the talent in the world. I was talking about this today at work. His problem isn't his arm talent. It's not his availability. It's between the ears, bro.
Yeah. Yep.
It's between the ears, and I want my early front runner to get the OC. I would love to have Mike LaFleur, because then that gives you. And here's the thing: what we don't talk about enough is how much Sirianni is gaining from going to this person who doesn't have a connection to this offense, but he finds a way to make it work, right? So he's getting all this experience, and then LaFleur under McVay's system, Shanahan tree, and with this,
you add those elements and philosophies over to what they can do. You need someone who's able to expand what they're doing, because obviously,
right,
defenses are going to start keying to what you were saying earlier in the show about like you're interested to see how defenses are going to play this team, and part of that is going to be how this offensive system realigns. How are they going to grow? How are they going to expand? Because they always have to keep growing. And I even expect going into this past season, it was the question marks were always, or not always, but the question marks were, can Jalen make the pre-snap reads and protections without Kelsey? Can Jalen play from under center? Can Jalen do this and that? And I think from this season we've seen them. It's emphatically yes. So even though he's shown that he still has limitations here and there as a pocket passer when it comes to zone defense, throwing in the middle of the field consistently. Again, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying consistently. When it comes to that stuff, he hasn't shown it, but I don't think Jalen has either shown or even shown that he doesn't grow, that he doesn't fix or improve elements of his game from year to year. The only time he's ever declined or regressed was 2023. That's the only time.
But the whole team regressed.
The whole team regressed, yeah. So it's not even it was just him. It was everyone. So like something like that, it's a team thing that happens. Right. So I have faith that Jalen will be able to grow and pick up another type of offensive scheme that you bring in here. And so, I mean, I know that the front runner is Patullo right now, which a lot of people are concerned about and they don't like because it's in-house and we don't have a great.
Was he ever like an interim coach somewhere? Was he with?
I don't know. I'd have to look. I'd have to look, but like I understand that, and I think like I would agree with you. I'd want to go outside. I want to go out, out of house, not in-house, to be able to sign an offensive coordinator with bright ideas. But at the same time, I'm not going to rule out. I'm not going to say that Patullo will not work. I'm not going to say that with any certainty because that's not fair to Patullo. Like who knows if he's going to work out or not? But just because prior in-house promotions didn't work doesn't mean that he can't. So if that's the guy, then that's the guy, and we'll see how he does. If he fails, then we're on to another OC. But like,
and the other thing too, like how I just praise Sirianni for gathering and garnering all this knowledge from different people, right? Trying to accomplish the same goal, but finding a different path to get there. Like, so if it's an ever shifting maze, but you still keep the same exit, right? And the exit is to win football games. If Sirianni's doing that, and the last 4 years as a coach, what do you think? What do you think about Jalen? Like, this dude, every year, like, could you imagine showing up to work every year in your off season or every 6 months, and then you have a complete new handbook? You have to make it work and be just as successful as you were the year before. Like, that's tough. And then he had Steichen back to back. And like, I'm to the point where I was almost to the point where, hey, listen, Indy, burn it all down. Fire Shane Steichen. Come on back home.
oh my God, I would take Steichen over.
I would take Steichen in a heartbeat.
I would take him over Reich. I mean, Steichen wouldn't be my favorite. I don't know. I mean, he did. I have an issue with retreads in football, but I would be good with him definitely over someone like Frank Reich, who keeps getting
right. He's grown. He's had his experience now as a head coach.
Yep.
We've seen Sirianni be successful. I'm curious to see what Newsomire, if he goes to New Orleans, if he gets poached. So I don't think that's talked about enough. The QB coach day in and day out in that room. I mean, I think Jalen's a self-starter, a self-motivator on his own, but still at the same time. But let's get into these plays, man. We were called Film Don't Lie, and we're about 47 minutes in, and we haven't shown any film.
Yeah, we don't have we're in the phase now of the season where we won't
celebratory.
We're celebrating. There's no more games to break down. So, but we're going straight to. I guess you can call this like a hybrid of film room and 5-step drop, because we're ranking 5 things, but we're going to also use the film to help us rank them. So, with our 5-step drop this week, we are ranking the 5 best plays or moments from Saquon season. And so I'm going to go back and use the all 22 film to summarize the options here. And I think these would be consensus as the top 6 to choose from. So 5 out of these 6 will rank them. But the 6 plays that I personally thought would be obvious candidates. So you've got the play in week 3 against the Saints. Speaking of the Saints.
This is the second half run?
Yeah, this is the fourth quarter. We were losing 3-0 the whole game, and Saquon finally breaks it open, and it helps turn that game around. So it's that 65-yard run against the Saints was. I remember watching this, and I loathe the Saints.
What play? So what is this inside zone?
We look back at it. So if you're looking back at this,
because he runs in between the guard and the tackle.
Let's see. This is inside zone.
Okay.
Yep. It's same side inside zone. Because tight end is away from the strong side of the run side of the formation, so it's inside zone. But same side inside zone. A good adjustment there, or like a counter to catch a defense off guard. But yeah, inside zone touchdown. So that's the first candidate. Second candidate, I've got the whole. Again, this is moments, not just plays. So his return to New York. And he put up, if I have it here, 188.
Oh, I remember this play. Get out of here.
188 yards from scrimmage against the Giants and 1 touchdown. So it was just an amazing.
And that's my favorite uni right there.
Which one? The white and then the black. They wore this against the Packers in week 1 too, I think.
And I really want them to. I know they have to submit it, but that particular uniform, but with the black helmet.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. A lot of people don't like that, or a good number don't like that. I'm like, I think it looks dope.
What, the uniform?
Yeah, that combination you're talking about.
I mean, even when they go all black, the All Blacks. I mean, don't they have a black helmet when they wear that?
Yeah, then now they do. Yeah, but I said, I wish with the black helmet they need to make that. Instead of like a chrome with a glittery finish, they need to make that matte black, because the
matte black over shiny black every day of the week, bro.
Every day, all the time. So I would be so on board with that. But yeah, all right. So that's a second play, or a second in consideration. The next one needs no introduction. We all know what it is. We all seen it. The whole world has seen it. The whole world will see it forever
and
ever and ever. It's the backwards hurdle. There's not. We summarized the best plays on last night on Eagles Talk best plays overall for the Eagles in 2024 season. This was unanimously between me, Les, and PY as the best play, the top play of the year. It's rare. This never happens. That might have been like a spoiler. Next one, it is Saquon's career day against the Rams in Week 12. 302 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns for Saquon Barkley. 302 yards from scrimmage. 302 yards from scrimmage against the Rams. Insane. And to be able to also have, which we'll get to in a bit, the game he had against the Rams in the playoffs. As a Rams fan, you are probably seeing Saquon in your nightmares. It's unbelievable.
They were the closest to sending us home, bro. Like
they were.
I keep trying to tell people, yes, there was a California team in Northeast elements. Those elements slowed us down more than it slowed the Rams down.
Yes, they do, because bad elements evens the playing field.
Yep.
I think so. The fifth candidate is against the Rams, and we all know this, obviously. Late in the fourth quarter
this is a smile.
Round, this is the snow run. He goes for 78 yards in the snow, and this is probably the most, like, outside of the hurdle, pictures of this are probably the most aesthetically pleasing pictures of the whole season. It's, you have Saquon in the snow, smacking his helmet. Mm-hmm. It just makes for unbelievable pictures and videos. And Saquon has said,
and right there, you can see the maturation of Jalen saying, like, yo, like, I'm paying attention to everything. This is how they've been playing this. Opposite. Yeah. That's what he does with his arms there, right? So he's doing with his arms. He's saying opposite. So we're running the same play just to the reverse side. So
amazing stuff. And then the final play for consideration is the 60-yard touchdown run to open.
This is such bad tackling, bad angles, bad. Oh God! I'm a defensive coach.
Credit to Saquon for just making this, like, that cut. And I talked about this when we broke down with Marcus. Mm-hmm. That cut to the middle of the field is what seals it. Like, most running backs, I'm telling you, will stay straight to the sideline.
Yep.
Saquon having the vision and the awareness to cut it back in the middle of the field is
the only person I think that can get somewhat close to replicating what he did in today's game is probably Jahmyr Gibbs. That's it.
I'd say
the only one.
I'd say Bijan Robinson too. Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, close. Yeah. But from a speed,
both of them are freaking elite, if anything. Yeah. So, like, I'm not saying Gibbs wouldn't. I'm saying, like, to me, when I look at the next Saquon, if there's any running back in this league,
like, overall as a total package, is Bijan.
It's Bijan.
I would just say Gibbs from the standpoint of I think he's faster.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's faster.
He could be the burstiest running back in the league right now.
Yeah.
Him and Achane are probably, I'd say.
But like we said, Achane, his hips are still tight. Like that, Achane is not making those jump cuts like that.
That's true. Yeah, he doesn't have
straight line in the vision. And like Saquon has said, like, this year has taught him to trust what his eyes see.
Yes. Yeah.
Trust his vision and the patience to let it develop. I mean, he knows he outside of this being blessed, naturally gifted, he knows he's also blessed in a situation where the money was comparable, maybe a little less, but he's like, all right, they don't have the O-line that the Eagles have.
Yep.
and I get to play them twice. You know what I mean? But it's mainly for like I'm running behind that O-line, not getting touched for 4 or 5 yards. Yep. Like just think about like on his body. The toll on his body this year probably wasn't that bad because of the fact of how many yards he didn't have the contact.
Yeah, and it says a lot because look at Miles, because like he left here, he went to a bad situation in Carolina with a bad O-line. I don't want to say bad. They're not bad, but they're not good. And he regressed. His vision regressed because he's not able to trust his O-line. And people, Eagles kind of want to pick on Miles as that being evidence that he always sucked. No, like if you look at a lot of running backs that go somewhere else in free agency, there is often a decline because they don't trust the offensive line. So much of their success is being able to trust the offensive line, obviously, and that plays part in their vision and the decision making. Do you trust what you're seeing? Do you trust that these bucks are going to be there? If not, you're going to freelance a lot more than you should be. So Miles regressed because he didn't trust his O-line, whereas Saquon progressed here. So it does speak a lot. But anyways, 5-1. How would you rank his plays? And if there's a play that you remember that wasn't shown, then you can mention it. But 5-1, how would you rank Saquon?
Like in order?
Yeah, in order. 5-1.
If I'm just looking at overall plays, athletic ability, Jacksonville scramble, reverse leap is 1. I would say week 3 against the Saints.
Be number 2.
The moment and the cutback with the run.
Okay.
Probably week 12 against the Rams because that cutback, the cutback, but that jump cut that was like last second, right?
Oh yeah, and he didn't lose any speed.
Right. I mean, the snow run is memorable, but I don't think that's more the elements, and they caught the Rams at the right time with their pants down. I would probably go conference championship game because that was a tone setter, and that they legit had a decent defense called on that. Mm-hmm. And like you said, like the tendency for most running backs is they'll keep riding that sideline, and he saw the vision to cut back. And he knew he had the athletic ability to do it and then run away from people.
Yep. Those are your 3. Okay.
And I was going to go back to the beginning of the show. This is not going to be a popular opinion. But if we were just looking at a single season record, if I told you a single season record, 2,000-yard rusher, right? Yards per carry on the season was 6 yards a carry and sub 350 carries. If you extrapolate that to what Saquon did this year, and you give this running back 436 yards a carry, I mean, we're talking about almost a 3,000-yard rusher. and he did it in 14 games. I'm not going to say the name because you can probably figure out who I'm talking about. In 14 games, and probably would have won a Super Bowl if they didn't run into one of the greatest teams ever in the 1970 Dolphins.
I don't know who you're talking about.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
O.J. Simpson. Yeah. Well, that's a big what if. I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
14 games, 2000. I think it's 14 games. His yards were 2,003 yards. And 14 games, 330 carries. That's correct. That's what's astounding is you do it in sub 350 carries.
Yeah, that was crazy. I know a lot of other people. I mean, if we're going to go back, a lot of other people would look at Bo Jackson and what he was able to do in a short period of time before his injury, and say like talent wise, bar none, he was the best. But obviously injury is part of it. So no, I hear you on that. I'm gonna rank these real quick. So I'm gonna take into account physical ability on the play as well as weight of the moment.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna go backwards. Let me work it backwards. So 5, I'm gonna do the week 3 run against the Saints in the fourth quarter. That's gonna be my 5th. 4th is going to be the divisional round 78-yard run against the Rams in the snow. That's 4 for me. Number 3 is going to be, because I'm so petty, week 7 against the Giants, his return to New York, 188 yards and a touchdown. I just being able to do that against your former team.
It's things that you dream of.
Number 2 is going to be the 60-yard run against the Commanders in NFC Championship game. I've said it so many times. That is like the new era version of Wilbert Montgomery's run against the Cowboys in 1980. That set the tone, and that was like from that moment on, you kind of had a feeling we had this. And then number 1, yes, it was a regular season game, but I don't know how anyone could look at the backwards hurdle and not say that wasn't the top, or not say that's the top play of the year for Saquon. That is something. That is a play, regardless of if it was in the regular season or not. It is going to be immortalized forever. There is not going to be a single person, a player that probably will ever be able to do that. They might try and replicate it, but to be able to do something that's never been done and possibly never will be done again.
Yes.
That is just rare. That has to be the top play. Has to be the top play. Yeah, absolutely. So those are my 5. No huddle. Let's close this out. I do have some topics, but we'll start with you. What do you want to get into?
Once again, Terrell Davis only played 7 years. I did not know it was that short.
Very short of a career. Yes.
Yes, but wasn't it neck injury for him too?
I think, yeah. But he got in the hall. He got in the hall because of how dominant those years were. Yeah. That speaks volumes as to, yeah.
No huddle. Do I have anything for no huddle? Oh, techie stuff. There has been talks and it has been earth of an iPhone foldable. Maybe, but more of a passport-sized foldable. So imagine putting like 2 iPhone 16s together, like regular size 16s, or like 2 minis together, and then that opening up like a passport.
Wait. So that's totally different, though. You're going from iPhone. You said Pros or Maxes?
No, not Maxes. Just like the regular 16. With a regular 16 is.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the Max, where it's like a full like.
No.
You're putting 2 of them together. That's a tablet. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's a tablet.
I think like imagine, and I think we're maybe 2 years away, 2027, where I think if they do it, it's going to be almost like a folded iPad mini.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I have a mini. So
was it like 7 inches?
I don't know. I'm looking. Oh, my son has it. I don't know. I forget what the dimension is, but I mean, like, I'd be all for it. But at the same time, I have the 15.
Okay.
The 15 Pro, and even this is like stretching it. Like I have small hands. All right, all of you who see me. You talk with my hands. I talk with my hands all the time on camera. I have small hands. The Pro itself is already tough for me. I miss my iPhone mini. I miss it so much. Like the fact that
they get that new SE they're coming out with. The Pro gives you, if you like taking pictures and stuff, so the photography is great. You know what I mean?
I don't like taking pictures. I have to take videos for content for my business. So like it's more of like a have to. And it's more about videos. I suck at taking pictures. My wife has to take pictures, so but yeah, I hear.
Because we only have 10 more days of this, I will say this: in honor of Black History Month. What was his name? I can't remember his name now. But because you are a Disney nerd like me, especially a Star Wars nerd, come on, I gotta find it now.
Yeah.
But you can go. I'm coming back.
Yeah, so my no huddle is going to be just running back centric. We've got free agent running backs. This unlike this past offseason, the free agent running back class is nothing to really get too excited over. The top names are going to be like guys like Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, and Rico Dowdle. And if you're an Eagles fan, obviously throw in Kenny Gainwell, who will probably be a free agent.
I want my Rico Dowdle as a backup.
I'm not high on Rico Dowdle.
I mean, out of that name, that list of names that you named.
Oh, okay, yeah. Are you talking about Eagle-centric, or are you talking about just in general?
Eagle-centric as far as as a backup to Saquon.
Yeah. I mean, he probably will. I don't know.
You think he can get a starting gig somewhere else?
Maybe like a league complimentary.
Right. So why not do it behind the best O-line in the league?
Maybe, but I mean, like, there's a difference between a complimentary back and a backup. If you're coming here, you're a backup. You're not complimentary. Okay. If you're complimentary back, you're splitting carries. Like, you're getting 10 carries or 10 touches, 10 to 15 touches. But like here, he's going to get very look at what Kenny Gainwell got this past season.
Yeah,
barely anything, right? That's the role you're talking about, a backup. So,
and his name was Lanny Smoot.
Lanny Smoot.
He works for Disney. He's an inventor. Not only did he invent the collapsible lightsaber, but also you may have seen, once again, techie stuff. There's a video, MKBHD. Everybody pretty much knows who he is. He went to Disney and he tested out the floor that has pods, like cylinders like this, that move you in every direction. He was also, so they've used that in Marvel stuff. So he's the inventor for that as well. So
nice. Good shout out. Yeah. So, running backs, free agents. I don't know. It'll be interesting to me to see where Najee Harris goes. Former first round pick.
You don't
has gotten better.
You think Pittsburgh let him walk?
I think he let him walk.
They didn't
exercise his option.
Okay.
So
they'll go Jalen Warren at that point and probably draft
somebody. Aaron Jones is still pretty solid, but he's older. I don't know who's going to go. J.K. Dobbins is solid, but like his injuries has taken away a lot of his burst. Same thing with Javonte Williams. He had so much potential coming out, but
he had the one ACL, Javonte.
Yeah, I was so high on him, and then he came in his rookie season, he was tearing it up, and then he had that injury, and it hasn't been the same since. So, I don't know. I guess the most intriguing as a fan, like, it'll be interesting to see where Kenny Gainwell goes, and to see if he can actually like secure like a significant role somewhere. So, I'm hoping. Would
you take Najee in a backup role?
No, probably too much. Like it's probably too much for him. I mean, not too much. It's probably too little of a role for what he wants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see us bringing in any free agent running backs, unless if they're going to be designated as like the third RB3. I think Shipley is going to be RB2. So I think he's the heir apparent to Kenny Gainwell. So I think that's that. So that's all I got. That's all I have.
That's it. So, fam, we'll be back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We got a break. I will be in Disney. I will be shooting content. I'm excited, but I will come back, and I've got a lot of fun topics moving forward, starting in March. A lot of fun topics. Okay. So, even though it's the off season, the thing I love about us being an NFL show, we can talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of things, not just Eagles. So I've got a lot of fun topics to come about for the show. And if you have any questions or have anything you guys want us to talk about, put it in the comments. I read all the comments from the shows when they go live. So put it in the comments or reach out to us. Let us know. We will definitely love to get to anything you guys want us to talk about. All
right. Well, for him over there, Mr. Disney, a.k.a. Chux, It's your boy OGP, A2D Radio, all social, everywhere, wherever you can digest your podcast. We'll be up on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. You can share whatever you want to. You can be selfish, but just like and subscribe. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. We out.
All right, peace.